Hello and welcome to Barbara's Podcast. This is the show for women, all about health, nutrition, and wellness. It's the show that will empower you and inspire you to create a healthier lifestyle.
Hello and welcome. I'm Barbara Carafocus, and I'm excited to introduce Dr. Tom Ingegno, who is a licensed Baltimore acupuncturist, certified animal acupuncturist. He holds a doctorate in acupuncture, Chinese medicine, specializing in integrative health. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you so much for having me, Barbara. I'm real excited to be here.
That's my pleasure. You have been providing whole body acupuncture treatments for over 2 decades.
Yeah.
Can you share your approach to acupuncture, how it has evolved over the years, and what continues to inspire your work?
Yeah. So, my approach is more of a Japanese style.
Okay.
A lot of people, when they hear acupuncture, they think it's all one thing.
Yeah.
And everybody does the same thing, but there's even an expression in China, 10 acupuncturists, 10 treatments, right?
Yeah.
Acupuncture is an ever evolving system. And as it went to different cultures and through different time periods, different concepts came around and different treatment strategies developed. So in the Japanese systems, which there are tons of, um, they tend to have the hallmarks of having, using fewer needles or smaller needles for stimulation, and be very targeted at palpation. So we're trying to find the center of those points and be as accurate as possible. And because of that, and the influence by my mentor who exposed me to all these systems, I tend to carry that into my treatments and do treatment styles that follow 3 specific systems in Japanese acupuncture, which are super boring unless you're like nerdy on the inside of the systems. But hopefully that means that the biggest thing patients should see is they feel super relaxed on top of us addressing their symptoms. A lot of acupuncture really aims at regulating the autonomic nervous system, which is fight or flight versus rest and digest. And most of us around the world are stuck in that fight or flight. So being able to put you into that rest and digest stage is really important for us to be able to help you have your body repair itself. So our goal is to then address symptoms after we get you into that state to help hopefully have better results. It's really evolved. Every 5 or 6 years I look back and go, oh, remember when you used to do that? Well, now you do this, and we think this is more effective. So it's always interesting to me that, like, every time I learn something new or I go to a seminar or I have a conversation with a colleague, that I want to incorporate that into the practice and try it out. In the States, we say, walk a mile in another man's shoes to kind of understand where they're coming from. In Japan, they say 3 years on a rock. And what they mean is sit there and contemplate it for 3 years before you judge it.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to go to 2 seminars with a guy he's still around. He's in his 90s now. And he said the greatest thing when somebody asked him about a technique that they thought he didn't like. He said, I tried it for 3.5 years, and I think there's some value in it. And it's like, who tries something for 3.5 years? But really, having that experience and hearing that story, I want to look at everything with an open mind, give it a try, so long as I think it's safe and sound
Yeah.
for the patients, and then add that into my practice if it makes patients' outcomes better.
Absolutely. Because I think you evolve and grow, don't you? So as you learn more, you evolve, you apply it, and then you create your own little system with all the knowledge and experience that you've accumulated over the years.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things to tell patients is back oh God, when I first started, I was still in New York and I was treating across the street from one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And we would trade treatments. Now we had the same mentor, same school, same teachers, same classes. Uh Neither of us did anything the other one did. But yet we both had good patient outcomes. We both enjoyed each other's company and treatments. And I respect her so much. So
Yeah.
it's amazing that, you know, acupuncture can evolve like that to be this individualized, right? It makes it a pain to study. We have tons of great studies, but when we read them as acupuncturists, we go, oh, God, you did the same thing to every patient? No one does that. Why? It's got to be customized to that person, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, even Barbara, you come in today and you tell me X, Y, and Z, and we treat you this week, and then we come back and we get feedback. We don't do that treatment again. Why? You're a different person.
Well, yeah,
E-
with different
yeah.
needs and
Yeah, you know, so that's really the joy in it. That's where I get to be creative, and that's where I think it keeps me in the field, right? We know that certain things, you know, in medicine, they need to be standardized, right? We why? Because this is how we do this.
yeah,
But it gets kind of boring. And here I get to be creative. And one of the classics that we all love to misquote off and on says acupuncture is the expression of humanity. So, you know,
like
in doing that, how's that being expressed? Well, it's going to be different between you and me than it is between you and a different acupuncturist.
yeah,
And it's going to be different each time we meet. And we need to honor that and use the systems that we have in place that have developed over thousands of years the right way. And in doing that, we get quite a bit of freedom
yeah.
and good patient outcomes too, which I absolutely
I apply the same, very similar philosophy to nutrition.
love.
The same thing. You can't. I don't believe in a copy paste system. Each person is different with different, habits, lifestyles. Their bodies can tolerate certain foods than other people. So there's no way you can apply the same thing to everyone.
No, no. And you know, i- this kind of weird thing that we all have to do when we're trying to take care of somebody else, right? We have to look at the studies and look at, oh, this is a big study on a ton of people. This is great information, but can I apply that to the person in front of me? And can I do that in a way that's
Yeah,
not going to upset them or disrupt the apple cart for them and get
yeah.
them the outcome we need, right? We can't, you know, and I don't know if you do this in your practice, but if somebody's not ready to go there, I can't like we can't force you there. So where can
No,
I meet you? You know, where can I meet you here? And then we'll take it from there. When you're ready for the next step, we can go.
stepping stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the same here. Well, I see you're the author of You Got Sick, Now What End, the
Yeah.
cupping book, Unlocking the Ancient Secrets of Healing.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that the ancient, Egyptians introduced cupping to the ancient Greeks, who
Yeah.
used it as a cure for almost every
Everything.
illness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even, I mean, I remember, visiting my grandfather, in his village, and there's the old, medicine woman or using glasses, and they would
Yeah.
actually use a certain type of alcohol. In Cyprus it's called zivania. It's like maybe the Italian version would be grappa, like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah. So
hardcore alcohol,
high
it's
proof. Yeah.
yeah. And they
Yeah.
would light it in the cup, and then I remember seeing that. I thought, oh my goodness, what are they doing? It looks barbaric, but
Yeah. So, so you nailed so much right there. You know, and this is the funny thing, right? So the earliest text that we have right now is the Ebers Papyrus, which talks about cupping out of Egypt. It also
yeah,
talks about surgical procedures, and we still do some of the similar things today in
yeah,
surgery wards, which is amazing to me. But we don't even know exactly where cupping came from because it was being done before it was written down. So,
yeah,
as you said, Hippocrates wrote a ton about it in Greece. We know Persia was doing it. The Persian physicians wrote tons about it. Um, but we don't know its exact origins. And
yeah,
you just said something that, like, I loved when I was teaching, especially in Manhattan, where we had all these foreign students, right? Everybody would come in and say something like, Grandma used to do that.
yeah,
And then, depending on where they were from, it would be slightly variant. You know, like some people would say, oh, they would wipe the alcohol on the inside of the cup and then light that and put it on. Some of my Italian students would say, oh, they put a coin on your back and then
yeah,
they take grappa or like a high proof brandy
yeah,
on some cotton, throw it on top of the coin like that, and then put the cup over the coin. In
Yeah.
Syria, they would make the cups longer. So they would take a rolled up piece of paper, newspaper or something, and light the end, and then stick that in to replace that. Now,
Yeah.
the reason I wrote the cupping book now is I wanted to return these traditional practices back to the families, because it was normally families, the medicine people in the family or in the village or in the town, whatever it was, that we're doing this. And now we're at a time where we don't even need the fire. We don't need glass cups. We have silicone cups. We
Yeah.
have plastic cups. And we have all these ways of doing it where people aren't going to burn their house down. So, on
Yeah.
one hand, I wrote the book now because I'm like, oh, I can do this and talk about all of these different types of cups and the
Yeah.
pros and cons of them and why you might want to choose one over the other. And, the other thing is they're so cost effective now. I mean, every country has some version of Amazon, and they can go on there and pick them up for under 20 US dollars. And then they have a set that'll last them a lifetime.
Yeah.
So why not put it back in the hands of people? It has modern research. We know that it actually is very effective for neck and shoulder pain, low back pain. And there's some classical uses. We use it for respiratory health. We use it
Okay.
for digestion. And there's some evidence there too. So why not try this out in your home before you go see the physician, or if the condition isn't so bad, or use it as maintenance, right? Post working
Yeah.
out, or, hey, I'm a little sore today. Let me get the cups out and put them on.
Could you do it by yourself, or would you need someone else to help
It
you
depends
out?
on where you're going to put them, right? So, front of the body, top of the shoulders, you can probably get yourself. If you have them on your low back, it's a little awkward to put them on yourself.
Yeah.
They do sell some of the plastic suction cup with the pump. They have a
Okay.
long hose that you could, possibly get one on your back and pump it on that way.
Okay.
Um, it is so easy to do, putting them on and taking them off. We talk about that in the book, but so even the silicone ones, it's really just press it against the body and it sticks.
Yeah.
So as long as you have somebody in there that has enough strength to do that, you're good to go. My kids have been putting them on my back since they were like 5.
Oh,
Yeah,
teach them early.
yeah, yeah. And that way, as I got older and I have more aches and pains, it's easier for them. Yeah, can you put the cups on my shoulder? Can you put the cups on my neck? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
They sometimes, they roll their eyes now. The older one's 14, the younger one's 11, but they'll do it.
Again, not again.
God, you're still sore? Yes. Why? I got old.
So would there be any precautions, or is there someone,
Yeah.
is there a group of people that shouldn't use cupping?
Yeah. So this is kind of almost a blanket statement across things when we don't know. Don't do it on pregnant women, right? We can't say that it's going to hurt them. And
Yeah.
anecdotally, I know a lot of people that have had cupping while they were pregnant. But the
Yeah.
idea is that it moves the blood, is the classic concept, and we don't want to do that while an embryo, a fetus, is developing. So classically, we'd say, please don't do that. And it would be unethical to study that now, right? We don't want to do it and cause harm. Other things. If somebody has deep vein thrombosis, so those big
Yeah.
raised wide veins, don't do it. And we can clear that with a doctor and say, okay, we're going to avoid those areas. But these, open wounds, you probably would throw a cup over something open and broken skin. We discuss all those in the book as well. And it's funny because those are, there might be one or two more that I list in the book, but in most cases, it's pretty safe, and we can kind of say, oh, I can put that on stronger, I can put that on softer, depending on the patient's tolerance level, right? Patient, yeah, your friends and family in this case. So you don't have to go as hard as you can all the time to get an effective treatment. And in fact, a lot of times when we want just to relax, I'll tell people to put them on their upper back, and that can be moderate. Just make it comfortable and just lay down for a few minutes. You know.
Absolutely. So I see you've been studying internal cultivation arts such as
Yeah, yeah,
meditation,
yeah,
qigong, tai
yeah.
chi, xingyi. I've never heard of that one.
Xingyi, so Xingyi's kind of a little bit less known. Xingyi means form mind boxing. If we translate, Xingyi Chuan is the word for fist or box.
Yeah.
And it's one of the internal practices. The most well known is Tai Chi, right? Everybody knows, the old
Yeah.
people moving in the park. What they don't know is that was like a finishing school for a lot of younger martial artists, right? How do we move slowly to generate that power and have control through the movement? And it's in the same way that, like, it's the Olympics now, so the divers will watch the slow motion videos of what they did. And, oh, I need to rotate here more. I need to move my hands in this position more. And doing Tai Chi slowly does that, right? And builds up that strength. Now, Xing Yi, and one of the reasons my mentor taught it, and this is one of the things I love about East Asian medicine as a whole. The theories that we use in East Asian medicine are also used in martial arts. They're also used in flower arranging and music. And Xing Yi has 5 fists. We have 5 elements in
Yeah.
East Asian medicine. So we have a fist for each one of those elements. And the interactions of those are the same interactions that we talk about in acupuncture, in flower arranging and music. So we go, okay, well, if this is a wood fist, well, we counter that with a metal fist, chopping. Yeah, and this is the classic theory, and we build sets and forms off of that. Now, Xing Yi Chuan is probably the most aggressive and not like Tai Chi of all of them. The other big one is Bagua Chuan, which is
Yeah.
8 directions, right? And then we call that walking the circle. And that's a little bit smaller in shape and a little less aggressive looking externally. Where you're kind of walking around. Some people do it around a tree, but Bagua is 8 directions, which is another concept in Asian medicine. We talk about the 8 polarities.
I'm not sure. I have done a couple of years of Tai Chi, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one.
Mm. And that's insane too, right? So there's thousands of systems
Yeah.
of Tai Chi alone, and there's 5 main families. So the most common one tends to be Yang style, right? So, oh, it might be Yang style, and they'll say, oh, it's 13, 64, 108 moves, whatever it is. And normally you can tell by how long it takes to do the whole form. So the 108 one normally takes a half an hour if you're going at a moderate speed, let's say. Extremely painful on the legs. Uh, but yeah, and then we have more, other systems where there's like more explosive power being shown, like in the Chen systems. I'm so glad you asked about martial arts. I don't get to talk about that much. But yeah, it's
Getting
all
very
about
passionate about it.
it's all about cultivation too, right? So it's not just this fighting system. How do I align my breath with proper body alignment, proper movement? And in a way, it's all qigong, right? Qigong is
Yeah.
energy practice, is how that
Yeah.
translates directly, but it's breath work with movement, right? And this is how we circulate the energy through the body.
I think it's very important, as a holistic, health practitioners, that we do incorporate, body, mind, and spirit,
Yeah, yeah,
and how that helps the body achieve harmony, good health in whatever the your client's health goals may be,
yeah.
and how they all come together.
Yeah, and you can't pour from an empty cup, I think is the expression, right? So
Yeah.
we have to cultivate ourselves to make sure that we can be there and be present for the people in front of us,
Yeah.
and go continually to go deeper, so our skills refine and our lives are more enriched, and we're able to share that with others.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see, well, you treated FEMA workers for both pain and emotional
Yeah,
stress during the New York 9/11 rescue. And
yeah.
could perhaps you tell our listeners how you helped them and what healing
I
modalities did you use?
it was God, yeah, that was probably the single biggest impact. Add COVID and a couple other crises to that list too. But in the US, that was like really, and I hate to say this because I'm going to sound un-American, but that was probably the last time, right? 9/11 happened. It was horrible, right?
Yeah.
And I was living on Long Island, which is just east of Manhattan. And the acupuncture schools organized with, which is our federal disaster organization, to do acupuncture on the rescue workers, and they had chiropractors and massage therapists, and we were all volunteering time. And out of something so horrible, oh God, it's been 20 years, and I'm getting a little choked up. Out of something so horrible, to see so many people nationally, like all of a sudden, it wasn't about race or class or oh God, they're from the South, they're from the North, but everybody wanted to help. And I got to meet a lot of great colleagues there, a lot of other healthcare professionals, and we were just treating anybody that would lay down on the table. And sometimes these people were coming in the clothing that they were like digging through the rubble in,
Oh my.
and covered in dust and all these things. And it was, to see these very, very stressed out people who are just looking for survivors at that point. Um, just break down on the table, and what did you do? You pretty much just put your hand on their shoulder. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very emotionally charged. And then where they had it, it's the Jacob Javits Center. It's a big conference center. Um, Surrounding that, they literally had teams of people organizing the donations people were sending in. And it was everything. It's like, oh, we heard people need socks. And now a major sock company is sending thousands of pairs of socks, but other Americans are going to the store and buying stuff and say, hey, the rescue workers didn't pack. So do we have underwear? Yes, let's send underwear. And like, oh, we're just going to bake cookies for all the rescue workers. There was a guy that drove from Louisiana, which is southern part of the US, all the way to New York. It must have been a 3-day drive,
Oh my
just so
goodness.
he could barbecue for people. He set up a huge barbecue truck, right? I mean, that's huge in the States. And the grill itself, the
Yeah.
smoker was I mean, about the size of a car. It had been on the back of a trailer, and this guy was just barbecuing. And well, do I pay you for this? No, we're just giving it away.
Yeah.
Whoa, and it was this real. Yeah. I hate to say it. It's the last time I felt like the US was unified. Oh, now we're going to get political.
Yeah. No.
Let's not do that. Let's not
We-
do that. They're going to be like, that guy's a communist. A
I'm
little
gonna
bit.
stay away from that conversation. I'm very close to the Middle East.
That's okay. My passport has some Middle Eastern stamps in it that would probably piss other people off.
So, well, let's move away from that. So
Yes.
what I like, I see you're also a certified animal acupuncturist.
Yeah.
Having 3 cats and a little puppy at home at the moment.
Yeah.
Tell us more about it, the unique benefits and challenges of providing to animals.
So full disclosure, it's been a while since I've had a busy animal acupuncture practice. Knock on wood, my current human clinic is just this is not bragging. I believe we're the biggest single practice in Baltimore, the city I'm in, and possibly the entire state. As a single location, I have colleagues that have 2 or 3 locations, but comparing apples to apples, I would say any of ours, our location is busy as any single one of theirs, if not busier. So because of that, I'm not seeing as many animals. But one of the things I loved about treating them was they were either better or they weren't, right? There wasn't this mindset that humans have, like, oh, I can't put weight on that. Like you watch a dog go from like limping to not limping, and there's no, they're not like favoring the leg. They're not going, oh, I'm going to go gentle on it, right? They can either walk or they can't. And it was a great way to confirm that like acupuncture isn't all placebo, right? Why? Because that dog wasn't walking and now it's walking. That dog had heat spots and now they don't have heat spots. And it was really something, I want to get back to it as I get older. Hopefully I can slow down even more. Now I'm doing too many podcasts a week. But to be able to get back to treating animals, because the big thing for humans is you come to me, you come to my office, we pull you out of your environment, you're in a nice, comfortable, quiet room, and I can treat you, and you're like removed from the things that normally stress you out. If you put a dog in a car and you take them to a strange place, or a cat in a strange, it's the opposite. So I used to do it as house calls. Why?
Yeah.
I'm on your turf. The other thing is laws. In the US, if you come to my clinic with your dog and the dog bites you, it's my fault. If we're in your house and the dog bites you, you did that.
It's your
Uh,
fault.
you know, so the dogs, animals across the board would be more comfortable in on their home field.
Yeah.
So it was always great to me where you put the needles in, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that animal's not going to lay down. And they lay down, and it might only be for 5 minutes, but that's enough, right? They get up and they start shaking and the needles fly out. But we know we're done. So I had some great opportunities with that too. I mentioned travel to the Middle East. I got to treat a camel in the Middle East, which was
Oh, wow.
pretty interesting. We treated him. He had a little abscess on his where they put the saddle on the side, and I didn't get to stay to see it all heal, but about, 2 weeks later, they said that was all resolved, which is kind of great. I've had an opportunity to work with the zoo, and I can talk about it. I got yelled at for posting pictures, that even though they were in public, but I got to treat a giraffe and an ostrich at the local zoo. And unfortunately, like, they would do better after the treatments, but the way it had to be scheduled, by the time they'd call me in, these animals are already like very geriatric, and the condition is pretty advanced, right? Why? Because we're going to exhaust everything within the zoo's abilities. But just great experiences. I loved doing it, and even now, I'm talking to my wife about like trying to relocate to like a more of a like a rural area, and like, oh, we could treat goats. I could treat goats. Yeah, like, that sounds fun. But it's really rewarding to take care of anything, and to be able to do something that's a little weird. I mean, I've one book that has photos of chickens with acupuncture points on them, and I go, that's
Oh, no, no.
I don't.
No,
I
just
know a lot of Chinese people. I don't think they're going to waste the time or the money to treat a chicken.
yeah.
It's like you get one more meal. Yeah, like I should, like, that's. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't seem practical. But imagine, like, that's kind of cool. There's a colleague of mine that I found years ago on Facebook in Brazil. He works with the zoos,
Yeah.
and he posts stuff, and I'm like, you just treated a tarantula? Really? Really? Amazing. Yeah, great to see for the field, and hopefully the tarantula felt better. I don't know how you measure that, but
Yeah.
cool stuff.
No, absolutely. I'm happy to hear that people are open to, acupuncture as a
Yeah,
form of healing for their animals,
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
and animal studies actually say a lot too, because one of our biggest things is, before we do it on humans, we do it on animals. So when they do the weird stuff and they show, my French bulldog, he's no longer with us, but he had herniated 3 discs. Now I took him to the surgeon because it was bad. He was dragging. And the surgeon said, "Oh, you're an acupuncturist, so you're going to treat him?" And I said, "You think I should?" He goes, "Yeah, every day if you can." So it was great because the surgeon was open to it. And when I asked him why he was so open to it, he goes, "Oh, I read this study a couple months ago where they severed a nerve that goes to the foot of a rabbit.
yeah.
And then they did an acupuncture point on that rabbit's leg, no nervous system connection, supposedly. And when they put that needle in, the part of the brain that's associated with the low back in the rabbit still lit up, even though there was no neurological connection."
Oh, wow.
And he
That's
goes, "So if you can affect it without the nerve, yes, you definitely should treat neurological conditions because you're still getting some weird signaling." He said, "I don't, yeah," he was a great guy. He was real loud, real all over the place. I go, "Oh, like, is this bad?" He goes, "I've seen worse. We're fine." So he had the confidence of a surgeon, which I needed in that moment. I was very upset. But yeah, he was great, and our Frenchie did so well after the surgery with the acupuncturist recovery.
Yeah. No, I do. I do believe in acupuncture and how it does, affects the meridians or the
Mhm.
energy, gets the energy flowing within the body to help healing, or get rid of any blockages.
Yeah.
Well, in closing, I'm sure we could talk for
Yeah.
way more, but in closing, where can our listeners get in touch with you? Um,
Yeah, sure. So I normally give people two websites. My first is Charm City Integrative. Charm City is the nickname for Baltimore. So integrative, TIVE. I always say that because some people want to say ED. .com. CharmCityIntegrative.com is where you can find out about my practice. You can see a lot about my bio if you're looking to book lectures or have me as a guest on another podcast or something. You can reach me there. You can also find out about my books and other work. And if you're in Baltimore, you can book an appointment and please come in, say hi. Um, and then the cupping book is literally thecuppingbook.com. We're available on all major online retailers. Yeah, and pick up a copy or the Kindle version if you like your tablet reader. But yeah, those are the two main ways to get in touch with me. And please reach out with any questions. I really do love interacting with people.
well, thank you for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you as my guest.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been great, so much fun.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Barbara's podcast. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter or e-courses. Celebrate life, and see you at the next episode.